I used to work for a small marketing firm in Boston's Back Bay. Not too big, not too small, just big enough that I didn't know everyone's name. I joined in 2007 as part of the web-based media team. If you've never worked in marketing, let me tell you, it's brutal. Clients want everything yesterday, producers promise the moon, and the designers and developers are left chained to their desks, grinding until late at night, fueled by coffee and fluorescent lights. By late 2008, I was already used to weekends at the office. November, cold winds outside, deadlines closing in. We had a huge client project, the kind that could make or break the company's reputation. And of course, that meant late nights and a lonely Saturday shift for me. If you've ever been in an office on the weekend, you know the feeling. It's the same place you spend every weekday, but different. The silence makes every sound echo. The empty cubicles feel less like workspaces and more like graves for people who've gone home. You become hyper-aware of every flicker of the light, every hum of the computer fans. Our office was divided into patches of cubicles. Developers like me got shoved in the back corner. We were considered too scruffy, too unpresentable for clients. My little corner was tight half a cubicle, a radiator under my desk, shelves stacked with manuals I never used. Behind me stretched a dim hallway with the restrooms tucked inside. At night, that hallway always looked wrong, like a mouth waiting to swallow you if you stared too long. That Saturday afternoon, I was in the middle of coding when the producer called. She wasn't coming in, of course. She was out shopping or playing golf while I was stuck at a glowing screen. I answered politely, listened to her ramble, and that's when I heard it. Chains. A faint metallic rattle from somewhere behind me. Not exactly normal office noise. I brushed it off, finished the call, and decided to check. The kitchen was nearby, right by the freight elevator we never used. When I looked down the hallway, I saw the freight elevator doors sliding shut. At the same moment, a coworker passed by on his way to the main elevator. He waved. "Don't forget to set the alarm when you leave," he called. "Am I the last one here?" I asked. He nodded, and then he was gone. When I got back to my desk, my phone was off the hook. The loud EHN tone blared in my ear. I could have sworn I hadn't touched it. I hung it back up. Hours passed. Darkness crept in through the windows. I called my wife to say I'd be late, but right after I hung up, I heard it again. A sound, subtle but distinct. A door creaking open. I walked toward the hallway, and that's when I saw it. The men's room door swinging shut. Someone had just gone in, or so I thought. I waited, stood there like an idiot, pretending I was just checking something. 5 minutes passed. No one came out. Finally, I opened the door. Pitch black. The lights were off. They had been off since morning. That cold wave of fear hit me instantly, like the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. I stood frozen, heart pounding, ears straining for any sound. Nothing, just silence. I retreated fast, flipped the hall light switch, and forced myself back in. The bathroom was disgusting. 2 stalls, urinals too close for comfort, sinks lined with a cracked mirror. I sat in a stall, telling myself I just needed to relax. That's when I heard footsteps. The door creaked open, shoes tapping against the tile. Relief hit me for a second. I wasn't alone. But when I cleared my throat to signal the stall was occupied, the footsteps stopped. The silence was louder than the noise. Then, slowly, the footsteps came closer, stopping right outside my stall. I bent down, heart hammering, and looked for feet. There weren't any. My body went cold. Still, I went through the motions, flushed, stepped out, forced myself to the sinks. I tried not to look at the mirror, tried not to see anything behind me. The hand dryer roared as I rubbed my hands together, and in the reflection of the chrome nozzle, the other stall door was closed. It had been opened before. I didn't wait. Wet hands or not, I ran. As I pulled the door open, I heard the lock of the stall click, and the door slowly began swinging open behind me. I didn't look back. Back at my desk, the phone was off the hook again, But this time, there was a voice. At the tone, the time will be 7:43. It was the robotic clock service, comforting for a moment, until it spoke again, slower, distorted. At the tone, it will be 7:43. I slammed the receiver down. That was enough. Deadline or not, I wasn't staying. I saved my work, shut the system down, packed my bag. And then the phone rang. I picked up without thinking. At the tone, the time will be 7:45. I yanked the cord from the wall. Immediately, the phone at the next cubicle started ringing. I didn't answer. I didn't even breathe. I just grabbed my stuff and bolted. I forced myself down the hallway toward the front desk, but as I passed the restroom, I froze. The door was wide open, pitch black. I knew I had left the light on, and right then, it slowly began to close, as if something inside wanted me to see it happen. I kept walking, faster. I tried not to think about the fact that the bathroom wall ran alongside the hallway, that whatever was inside was only a few feet away from me, separated by thin plaster. Then the sound of a door slamming open. The fire escape. Its heavy crash bar had been pushed. I turned. The stairwell door gaped open into darkness. The freight elevator dinged. Its doors began sliding open. Chains rattled inside. I ran. I sprinted to the lobby elevator, slammed the button with shaking fingers. The floor indicator lit up. 2, 3, 4. My chest felt like it was going to explode. The entire back of the office had gone completely dark. I could feel the shadows spreading, swallowing everything behind me. When the elevator doors finally opened, light spilled out like salvation. I dove inside, hit lobby again and again, willing the doors to close faster. Just before they did, I looked back. The office was gone. Just blackness, moving, crawling toward me. The doors sealed shut. I collapsed against the wall, hands trembling. When the car reached the ground floor, I bolted through the lobby, out onto the cold Boston street, and vomited on the sidewalk. A cyclist swerved around me, shouting something I couldn't even process. I didn't go back the next day. I called in sick. Nobody questioned it. The deadline was extended. The only complaint was that I hadn't set the alarm before leaving. Months later, they remodeled the office, tore down the hallway, added new offices, rearranged the cubicles. I was moved to a brighter area. I never walked down that hallway again.
And whenever I needed the bathroom, I took the elevator down a floor, to a bigger, brighter restroom, one where no doors closed on their own.
One where nothing waited for me in the dark. You've probably heard of how WeWork operates. They buy out a few floors in a building, gut the space, and rebuild it into a maze of glass-walled, glass-doored rooms. Inside, they furnish each box with chic industrial desks, trendy decor, and just enough style to make it Instagram-worthy. Then, they rent each one out to small businesses, freelancers, or agencies for a lower price than leasing a traditional office space. On paper, it's a dream. Shared utilities, shared coffee, shared culture. In Manhattan, where square footage costs more than sanity, it's no surprise that these co-working hives thrive. But there's something they don't advertise. Something you'll never find in their glossy brochures or in those upbeat emails about networking events and free snacks. Because after last night, I learned something very different. And I don't think I'll ever set foot in that building again. It started as an ordinary evening. I had promised our admin assistant that I would close up the office so she could leave early for her dentist appointment. Normally, I'm out of there before 6, but I got carried away finishing our newsletter, headphones on, humming to some Halloween playlist. By the time I looked up, it was almost 7. The entire floor was empty. My screen went dark, the music stopped, and suddenly, I was aware of just how quiet it was. The air ducts gave their usual faint groans, but even those felt distant, muted. I shrugged it off. My commute is over an hour, so I figured I should hit the bathroom before heading out. I grabbed my phone, slid the glass office door open, and stepped into the hallway. That's when I saw him. At first, it was just shoes. Polished, old-fashioned leather shoes. They were planted firmly in the middle of the hallway, blocking my path. I froze, my phone dangling uselessly in my hand, my breath caught. Then I dragged my eyes up. He was tall, so tall it seemed unnatural. A rail-thin frame, wrapped in a sagging tweed suit jacket that looked decades out of place. A brown trilby hat pulled low, concealing most of his face. And his posture, it was wrong. Limp, like he wasn't standing of his own will, like invisible strings held him upright. His head lolled forward, the brim of his hat hiding his features completely. You're here late. His voice was thin, brittle, high-pitched like nails dragged across glass. Every nerve in my body lit up in panic. I didn't recognize him. I know the faces on our floor, and he wasn't one of them. I took half a step back. The corridor was too narrow to pass without brushing against him, and I had no desire to get any closer. He tilted his head slightly, still hanging limp, and whispered again, "What's the matter, miss?" The brim of his hat lifted just enough to reveal his mouth. I wish I hadn't looked. His skin was paper thin, stretched over bones that seemed too sharp. His lips were cracked and purple, and when he smiled God, his teeth were long, yellow, jagged, like needles crammed into his gums. Every instinct screamed at me to run. Then, out of nowhere, a woman yanked me by the wrist. "Don't look him in the eyes," she hissed. "Keep walking." I barely had time to react. She pulled me down the hall, fast, away from him. My heart thundered in my ears as the tall man's voice rose behind us. Miss, can't you hear me?" I almost turned back, but the woman's grip tightened. "Don't listen. Don't look back." We rounded the corner straight into darkness. The lights on this stretch of the hallway were out. Only the faint glow of an exit sign flickered at the far end. My office and my belongings were deep in that black corridor. The tall man's voice echoed behind us, shrill and furious now. "Turn around, miss." Against my better judgment, I glanced back, and I wish I hadn't. Through the glass walls of the offices, I saw him lurching after us. His stride was jerky, unnatural, like a marionette being dragged by tangled strings. His shoes slapped hard against the floor as he screamed, "Look at me! Look at me!" Then, as we crossed into the darkened hall, the sound stopped instantly. Like the world itself had muted him. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was heavy, suffocating, as if the air itself was listening. "Keep walking," the woman whispered. Her nails dug into my wrist, sending numbness into my hand. And then, the horrors began. From one office, liquid spattered against the glass. Thick, dark streaks rolled down the walls as something inside thudded violently against it. A man's muffled scream rang out, his palms smearing the glass with that same liquid before he was dragged into the shadows. Another room. Bodies hung from the ceiling by nooses, swaying slowly, heads lolling, eyes wide open. Another. Something inhuman, skin slick, fingers too long clawed its way up the glass, hissing, showing jagged teeth. Its pale eyes followed me as we walked. Monitors glowed in yet another room, each screen showing frozen faces twisted in agony, their mouths stretched in soundless screams. The further we walked, the more I saw. Shadows feeding on things I couldn't recognize. Sobs mixing with low, sadistic chuckling. The darkness wasn't hiding them, it was showing me everything I wasn't supposed to see. By the time we reached my office, my entire body was shaking. "Be quick," my companion urged. She stood at the door, keeping watch. I crouched to grab my backpack from under my desk, and froze. A child crouched there. Her skin was waxy pale, her dress ragged, her face empty. Smooth sockets where eyes should be, fingers like sticks curled around my bag. She tilted her hollow gaze upward and let out a sound I will never forget. A whine, not human,
Not animal, just raw despair, like something that had been suffering for centuries. I snatched only my phone, wallet, and keys, leaving everything else behind. We ran. The hallway warped with sounds, scratches, laughter, whispers, begging me to look inside the glass rooms, but I didn't. Not anymore. I kept my eyes glued to the glowing exit sign. Finally, we reached the common area. The daylight spilling faintly through the windows felt like a lifeline. The woman followed me inside. The doors slid shut, and then I saw her reflection. Not mine, hers. She looked like me, my face, my clothes, my body, but her eyes were pitch black. Her skin sagged, bubbling, dripping like melting wax. She smiled at me with my own mouth. "We work here too," she shrieked in my voice, laughing louder and louder as the elevator lights flickered red. Her grin stretched wider, impossible, as her laughter multiplied, filling the space, pressing into my skull. When the doors finally opened, I stumbled out into the lobby, her shrieks still echoing in my ears. And I swear to you, behind the security desk, something spidery leaned forward to watch me run. I never went back. And I don't think anyone should. Because whatever's in those glass offices at night, it doesn't want to be left alone. It wants you to see it. It wants you to join it. And worst of all, it already knows your name. If you felt the chills from tonight's story, imagine what waits in the next one. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell, so the next nightmare finds you first.